Welcome in, everyone, to Lively Lewis Stories.
That's right. We're back with even more awesome adventures with Levi and Ivy.
Set your storytime meter to fun and get ready to join the Lively Lewis crew.
All you need is your imagination and...
Off we go! I can't wait to see where our story takes us today.
Have you ever wanted to get more Lively Lewis in your life?
Well, we've got you covered.
Grab an adult and zoom over to livelylewisshop.com.
Or just click on the link in our show notes.
Enough about that. Let's get to today's super Lively Lewis story.
The calendar that sat on the table in front of Levi and Ivy's mom didn't seem to have one empty spot left on it. But with just a little maneuvering, rescheduling, and a few dinners in the car, their mom could make it all work. If Ivy can get a ride to your soccer game, Levi, then I won't have to pick her up early from her painting class on Friday, said Levi and Ivy's mom as she erased, wrote, and rewrote different activities, filling in all the little boxes the calendar had to offer. If only we could add a day or two more each week, then we'd be all set, laughed Levi and Ivy's dad. That would be great, but since that can't happen, I have to dedicate a good portion of my time to being the events coordinator for our children, said Levi and Ivy's mom as she sat reworking the calendar yet again. Levi and Ivy's parents loved all the activities that the kids were involved in. They loved supporting all their interests and cheering them on at their games, listening to their concerts, watching their dance recitals, and walking through their art shows. But sometimes it did get a little hectic, making sure they were able to be there for every last little thing. Then throw in school, work, friends' birthday parties, and doing work around the house, and it seemed like the only family time they got was in the car driving to and from activities. And forget about individual time to just rest and recover from their busy lives. If that wasn't on the calendar, it meant it didn't exist. Mom, we need to head out right now if I'm going to make it to soccer practice, called Levi as he ran down the stairs. I'm going to finish up my reading homework in the car because after soccer, I have rehearsal for my band concert next week. Correct. I've got that right here on the calendar, replied Levi and Ivy's mom. And in between those things, I have to get Ivy to ballet, then over to her friend's house after that to finish their science project. Sounds good to me, Mom, said Ivy as she pirouetted into the dining room. And just like every day, Levi, Ivy, and their parents hopped in the car and began driving all around town, checking off each daily activity on the block of the calendar. They did it with a zest for life and lots of energy most days. But keeping up such an intense schedule can wear on anyone. And one day, Levi and Ivy's parents noticed their kids, normally excited about all their activities, started to become anything but that. Hey friends, do you ever feel like you're doing too much and that you really just need a break? I know we sure do. Let's see if we can learn something from this story. They noticed Levi wasn't running down the stairs anymore for soccer practice or games. Instead, they had to call him several times to come down from his room, or else he would run the risk of being late. He wasn't practicing the drums for his band concerts as much either, but rather making excuses as to why he didn't have to do it. Like he had practiced at school that day in music class, or he left his drumsticks at his friend's house. Ivy was no longer pirouetting into the dining room or even spinning or twirling for that matter. She used to practice her dance moves every chance she got, all over the house. But now she walked slowly and yawned as she slumped down on the couch before dance class. She didn't seem as excited for her upcoming art show or her science fair either. They also both seemed less excited about even talking about their activities. No more long updates about soccer scrimmages or games. No more sample artwork being displayed around the house. And no more impromptu drum concerts. The bright spark that always seemed to glimmer in Levi and Ivy's eyes was much duller lately. They also seemed cranky and annoyed at their busy schedules that they once loved and looked forward to. Once at their games, drawing class, dance recitals, or any other activity, they were happy to participate. But their parents could tell that maybe it was all getting a bit too much. So they sat down and had a conversation one day while Levi and Ivy were at school and knew exactly what they had to do. At about the same age, Levi and Ivy's parents were both involved in a lot of activities, so they knew how great making those commitments and following through on them could be. Being on teams and participating in school activities and after-school clubs builds self-confidence, teaches teamwork and problem-solving skills, make lifelong memories, and grows friendships. However, if you don't have enough time to recover and build up your energy before the next activity, you never really end up giving 100% of yourself to it. And in doing that, you never really end up getting 100% out of the activity you're participating in. So after a little planning, Levi and Ivy's parents put together a plan they hoped would teach their kids the value of resting and recuperating, and how overextending yourself can end up making all your activities feel like work instead of fun. Do you think the kids will be excited for this weekend? Asked Levi and Ivy's dad as he grabbed the cooler, camping chairs, and some outdoor games from the shelves in the garage. I think it may take a little getting used to at first, but ultimately I think it's just what they need. Maybe what we all need, said Levi and Ivy's mom as she put their hiking boots, bug spray, and sun hats in the car. So when the weekend arrived, Levi and Ivy raced home from school ready to start their normal Friday afternoon full of commitments. But what they saw when they walked in the door was anything but normal. Their parents were standing in the living room waiting for them with 4 packed bags and 2 big smiles on their faces. Surprise! We're going away for the weekend, said Levi and Ivy's mom, waiting for the kids' reaction and not knowing exactly how they were going to handle the news. Very funny, Mom, said Levi. Unless our weekend away is going to be at the soccer field or Ivy's art class or my drum lesson or Ivy's ballet class, then we better just stay right here. That's right, Mom, added Ivy. I need to practice my pliés for the big recital that's coming up in a few weeks, and I still have some more work to do on my latest charcoal drawing. I can't go away this weekend. Both kids yawned as they spoke about their activities, both wanting to participate, but unable to hide that they just didn't have the energy to give it their all. And that's exactly why we're going away, said Levi and Ivy's dad. You're both exhausted and you need a break from all your activities. He's right. We both know how much you love all your teams and concerts and classes and recitals and art shows, but when it starts to become too much and you start losing your spark, then we have to step in and help. And that's why we planned this weekend away, said their dad with a big smile. It's all for you. A chance to take your breath and not have to follow a schedule on a calendar for a few days. A chance to just sit and not have to worry about which activity you're running to next, added their mom. We think you two need to learn the importance of resting and recovering from all that you do. Then, once you rest, you'll see what a big difference it makes. You two will feel incredible when you go back to those busy schedules next week. Levi and Ivy couldn't believe what they were hearing. How could they miss all their activities? And what would they do with all this free time? But since it wasn't up for debate, they simply had to go along with it and see if their parents' plan would work. After reassuring Levi and Ivy that they had already spoken to their coaches and teachers, their parents whisked them away in the car and off they went. Their destination, a beautiful, calm, and quiet lakeside cabin in the woods. It only took a few hours to get to the cabin, and already the calming effect of nature was taking over. Well, at least Levi and Ivy's parents were enjoying it. They rolled down the car windows and took in a deep breath of fresh air as they pointed out all the different things Levi and Ivy could do or not do while they were there. You can swim in the lake, go for a hike, take the canoe out, or even play volleyball, said their dad, pointing out his window at all the camp area had to offer. Or you could go read by the water, do morning yoga, go on a nature photo shoot, and see what we find. Or do nothing at all, added their mom. Okay, sounds good. When do we do or not do all these things? Asked Levi. Yeah, what should we do first, and for how long, and then what do we do after that? Asked Ivy. Where's the schedule telling us what we're doing and when we have to be there? That's exactly it, Levi and Ivy. There is no schedule, started their dad. You can do anything or nothing whenever you want to this weekend. No schedule? Whispered Levi and Ivy as they looked at each other in the back seat. They definitely seemed unsure of this new approach to their time and would need a few hours to figure it all out and get comfortable. Levi and Ivy's parents knew this and were fully prepared for their reactions. No one is going to tell you where to be, what time to do something, or even what to do for that matter, for the whole weekend, said Levi and Ivy's mom. It's all up to you. As Levi and Ivy's dad pulled the car up to their cabin, the afternoon sun glistened off the lake that stretched out in front of them. And since uncomfortable with the thought of all this free time, Levi and Ivy craved some structure for the rest of their day. Okay, so we can do whatever we want, said Ivy to Levi. How about we go down to the lake for about a half hour and check that out? Then we can take a hike for about 45 minutes and then come back to the cabin for a snack, added Levi. Then volleyball after that, which should take us to about 6 p.m., said Ivy. And by that time, we'll be ready for dinner. S'mores and a little relaxing after that, about 7 would be good, said Levi. Then we can play a few board games for an hour and then get in bed by 8:30. Does that sound good to you, Mom and Dad? Asked Ivy. Not at all, said Levi and Ivy's mom and dad together. No schedules, no time commitments, and we definitely won't be scheduling eating s'mores and relaxing, said their mom. You're just not getting it yet, but you will. It just may take a little time. How about you start by walking down to the lake? We can see you from the deck of the cabin, said their dad. Start there and try not to plan anything other than that. Just relax and enjoy. Levi and Ivy nodded and decided to give their parents' idea a chance. They walked down to the lake together, and as they did, they couldn't help but feel a sense of calm wash over them. The cool breeze, the warm sun, the sound of birds flying overhead were all so peaceful. But something was missing. That feeling they were missing was rushing around and feeling like they needed to be somewhere. Hey friends, do you relate to that? I know I sure do. Levi and Ivy walked out to the end of the dock in front of their cabin and sat down. They stayed quiet for a minute or two, and then they both spoke. This is nice, they said. What do you like about it? Levi asked his sister. For me, it's nice to just be able to sit down and know that I don't have to jump right back up and head out the door, said Ivy. Even though I love all my activities, I couldn't imagine not making art or dancing or playing sports, but right now, after a few really busy weeks, it's nice to just sit. I totally agree, said Levi. It's nice to know that we don't have to be up super early tomorrow, even though I love my early soccer practices and rehearsing for my band concert. But right now, after a few really busy weeks, it's nice to just relax. And as their parents watched from the deck of their cabin, Levi and Ivy dangled their legs over the edge of the dock and just looked out at the lake. The only thing moving was the water as the current gently rolled along. The only sound that filled the air wasn't coaches, whistles, or drums, or ballets, flats gliding along the floor, or a paintbrush swishing across the canvas. It was just Levi and Ivy breathing, catching their breath to be more precise. Hey friends, do you think you could take 3 big breaths with me as we continue on the story? Oh, that's a good recharge. Let's get back and see if we can get more restful with Levi and Ivy. Sitting and thinking back on all the wonderful things they get to do all the time, and that was nicer than they could have ever imagined. They talked to each other as they looked out at the water. They talked about their upcoming band concerts and art shows, about ballet and soccer, about the things that they hoped to accomplish that year and the things they had already done. Having nowhere to be, Levi and Ivy's conversation stretched out over an hour or more, and they didn't even realize it. Hey, Levi, Ivy, called out their dad from the cabin deck. How's the relaxing going? It's going great, shouted back Levi. You were right, added Ivy. Then she turned back to the water and watched the clouds drift by with Levi without a care in the world. Another half hour rolled by, and Levi and Ivy started to get very used to their new free time. They really liked it and knew that the much-needed rest and recovery would help them a lot when they had to get back to their busy schedules and all the activities they loved. Except now they would no longer be tired and unenthusiastic. Instead, they would be energized and ready to do it all. And the more they let the calm and quiet of the woods sink in, the more they understood how important it was to just take a moment to stop and appreciate all they've accomplished, while looking ahead to all the fun that was yet to come. Not having a calendar or a detailed schedule telling them what their day was going to be like was an amazing experience. It gave them the opportunity to create their own day, their own experiences, and that was something they hadn't been able to do for a very long time. And while they loved all the activities they were involved in, they knew after their weekend at the cabin that they had to make time to sit back and enjoy some free time every once in a while. Time to reflect on all of the amazing things they had the opportunity to do, to think back on the things they did well and the things they could improve. They learned that weekend at the cabin that just by slowing down a little bit, they were able to enjoy everything so much. Mom and Dad, thank you so much for taking us here, said Levi as he roasted a marshmallow by the fire his dad had made. It's been so nice to not have to follow a schedule, added Ivy as she nibbled on her s'more. We're so happy that you're both enjoying yourselves, said their mom. We really hoped you would. We hoped you would see that it's okay to take a step back from all the running around and just stop for a bit, said their dad. You always need to remember to create balance in your life. He's right, and all work and no rest is not a balanced life, added their mom. We understand that now, said Levi. And even though I'm looking forward to getting back to soccer and my drums, I know that can wait. And I know that ballet and my art will always be there when I get back too, said Ivy. I actually got a few ideas of some new things I'd like to paint while I was sitting there on the dock. That's great, Ivy, said Levi. While we were looking at the clouds, I found myself drumming a little beat in my head. I'd love to try it out on my drum kit when we get back home. Levi and Ivy's parents could have not been happier at how their kids were taking to the rest and relaxation at the cabin. They could tell that they truly understood that resting wasn't about doing nothing at all. It was about freeing up your mind and your time to do anything you wanted to do. Mom, I know we said no schedules this weekend, but Levi and I were talking and we wanted to know if we could please schedule one little thing. Ivy giggled as she looked at Levi. What is that? Asked Ivy's mom with a grin. We need to schedule another time to make s'mores, said Levi. These are so delicious. They all laughed and agreed that if they had to schedule one more thing, more s'mores would be it. And as millions of stars scattered themselves across the night sky, Levi and Ivy wondered what they would do the next day. But it didn't take long for them to figure it out. They would do nothing or everything, and it was all up to them. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned a little something too.
And since we know everyone has their own story, we'd love to hear yours.
If you have an idea for a Lively Lewis story, leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, your idea, and your little one's name.
Then maybe our next adventure will be with you.
Until our next Storytime Hangout.
Thanks for listening. We can't wait to share another fun Lively Lewis story with you.